adding a video to a collection I think I'll call Dumb Stuff That Doesn't Make Sense. So here I have an example for you of a typical prescription. I write hundreds of them every week. A couple things worth noting here that might help you to understand why it is that when you get to the pharmacy after seeing your doctor, you can't just pick up your prescription. So in this case, I prescribed a medication called Anoro Ellipta. It's an inhaler used for COPD that helps people to breathe better and prevents damage to their lungs over time. It's a cost-effective medication. Now, typically I would just order the generic of this medication, but in this case, I happen to know that Medicaid doesn't cover the generic. They only cover the brand name. The reason for that is a little bit interesting, a little bit of a backstory here. Pharmacies, including Medicaid's pharmacies, use organizations called PBMs, or Pharmacy Benefits Managers. PBMs buy medications and then provide them to customers like Medicaid or other insurance companies. They make their money typically based on what they call rebates. So they direct patients and prescribers to certain medications where they are able to negotiate a discount on that medication. The PBM makes the most money on the medications where they can get the biggest discount, not necessarily the medication that is the lowest cost. So in this case, the Anoro Ellipta is more expensive than generic medication, but Medicaid for Colorado has chosen the more expensive medication because the PBM that they contract with makes more money on the more expensive medication. I happen to know this, so I prescribed the more expensive medication. However, when I send this order to the pharmacy automatically converts it to the generic medication, which is the one that their PBM makes the most money on, and then sends the prescription on to Medicaid. Medicaid contracts with another organization to do prior authorizations for them. That company rejects the prescription sent in from the pharmacy, sends a message back to the pharmacy that you need to do a prior authorization. So they initiate the prior authorization, send it to me. I complete the prior authorization. At the end of that process, it says, prior authorization is not able to be completed because it's not required, because the brand name medication is covered by Medicaid. Please just order the brand name medication, which is exactly what I did. So then I reorder the exact same medication, the brand name medication, and I click this box which says dispense as written. In other words, pharmacy, you're not allowed to substitute the medication that I prescribed with a different medication like the generic. And the third time that I attempted to get this medication written through, I added the words to the pharmacy, brand name only, don't convert to generic because Medicaid doesn't cover it, trying to be helpful. I submitted it again. I think it took me 4 times and then a phone call before I get this medication passed through, because it turns out Walgreens doesn't read the notes that I put into the pharmacist, and they don't pay attention to the dispense as written. They do what they want. So they convert it to the generic, send it to the prior authorization. It gets rejected, sent back, and the cycle continues indefinitely until I can manage to get a pharmacist directly on the phone and say, hey, look, guys, remember Medicaid doesn't cover this generic medication. You got to put it through as a brand name medication. Now, you won't see any of this as a patient. You just wonder, why is it that my doctor cannot figure out how to prescribe the medication properly to get it filled for me? You know, and when you call the pharmacy is saying, well, we sent it back to the doctor and they just ordered it wrong. This is actually the kind of thing that's happening in the background. So bear with us. We're doing the best that we can in a deeply broken system. Anyway, I hope you found this informative, maybe a little bit amusing, and hopefully a little enlightening. I certainly find it frustrating, and I appreciate your patience. I hope you have a beautiful day.